Okay, so the topics that we are about to discuss in our first week are these are the topics, and the objective at the end of the lesson we'll be able to define economics as a social science and able to apply the concept of opportunity cost when evaluating options and making economic decisions, and make decisions on how man can satisfy most of his wants given limited resources, and be able to differentiate macroeconomics and microeconomics. Describe and state the importance of economic resources, and be able to analyze economic problems and propose solutions to the problems using the principles of applied economics. And lastly, describe the various economic system. So before we define economics, so the first word that we are about to ask is, what is scarcity? So scarcity is the condition where there are insufficient. When you say insufficient, there is lack or limited resources to satisfy the needs and wants of a population. Okay, so we are all have unlimited wants and needs, and always wanting for something new and having a limited resources. However, in our economy, we have limited resources. When you say limited resources, there are never enough resources or materials or supplies to satisfy or fulfill the wants and needs that every person have. So there are two types of scarcity. We have the absolute scarcity and the relative scarcity. So from the word absolute, so absolute is simply insufficient quantities of a resource to meet human needs or wants. So no matter how we look or try to find additional sources, there are none to be had. So because from the word absolute, total. So example of this is lack of foods, which leads to starvation, or lack of water, which leads to drought. Then another is the relative scarcity. It refers to physical quantities of resources, wherein though it is limited, there is physical quantities or there is available resources. However, it is limited or cannot easily supply to the needs of the population. Okay, again, so type of scarcity, we have the absolute and relative scarcity. Okay, so when we say relative, wherein there may be physical quantities of the resources present, but scarcity exists because of the problem about the supply and distribution. So the problem is not the totality. Okay, so this is an example of these are the example of different types of scarcity. So in terms of commodities, fishing, labor, the land. So especially the last example about the absolute scarcity, because of lack of water supply, so there it results to drought and the natural disaster. Okay. Okay, next. So because of the scarcity, so it comes out with the economics. So that's our subject, economics, as defined as a study. It is a social science that involves the use of scarce, again, scarce or limited or insufficient resources to satisfy unlimited wants. However, this ability or a person's ability to buy goods and services is limited by his income, based on his income and purchasing power. Okay. So this is the first definition, is the very simple definition of economics. Use of scarce or limited resources to satisfy the unlimited ones, because we all know that uh, population or people have unlimited wants. So in making choice and decision making, yeah, in the process of making choice or decision making is not always easy. So because of the limited resources that we have, so as consumers need to make wise choices. So first, before making decision or choices or alternatives, we must know to identify the problem. And then we analyze the alternatives or options, and we will consider the different alternatives and cost and every decision that we have in order to satisfy the unlimited wants of the people with the use of limited resources through making strategies that will help us make the best choices. Okay. So every time that we choose the best, or every time we have our best choice or options or alternative, we made something to give up. So we give up something. So if we choose to drink water instead of buying soft drink, so we give up the cost in buying soft drink in order to save our money. So this is an example of you have an option. Okay. So in economic decision, are those decisions in which people, our families, and our countries have to choose what to do in a condition of scarcity. Because scarcity occurs when people have limited wants, unlimited wants, but only have limited resources to which to fulfill these wants. So example of this, if they have enough, example of this is trade-off. Exchanging one thing for the use of another. So in order to have to provide the things that that is or oversupply, or yung sobrang gamit natin, so i-share natin or exchange through trading or barter system. So this is the common option nowadays, especially if you have limited resources. So barter also apply in this system in making economic decision. So exchanging one thing for the use of another. So okay, example of this, when you buy a product, you exchange money for the right to own that product rather than something else you could buy for the same price. Okay. So the economic decision affects the individual, the countries, and our families and countries. So example here in economic decision, first is our individual decision. So example, after we graduate, you graduate in your senior high school, you might have to decide whether to proceed in studying to university or to college, or to proceed to college, or to work, or to go into labor force. So you may decide whether to buy the newest mobile phone or to keep your old one. So you have the economic decision. And then in your economic decision, your families also affects the kind of decision you will have. So your family may influence you in what university you're going to enroll, or what course do you want to enroll. Also, or you may, or your family will inform you not to proceed on your college or your tertiary or enrolling in your tertiary level. So they will tell you to go into industry or to work in order to supply to the needs of your families. And then also the countries. So the countries have to make make a bigger decision with regards to in making policies, government policies, or rules, or the rules, government rules and regulation that influence the decisions of every individual. Okay. So in every decision, there is an opportunity cost. So opportunity cost, it refers to the cost of the next best alternative use of money, time, or resources when one choice is made rather than another. So it means when you say opportunity cost, you choose something in your decision, you choose the best alternative, and the opportunity costs are those costs that you give up in your decision. Okay, so example here of your opportunity cost. So example here, who is making the choice? Example in business, they have different alternatives. So either to purchase a new computers, or to buy new fax, or to employ new workers, or to purchase delivery van, or to hire a manager or consultant, or to have a office party. So in that business, example, they choose to have a new computers, new workers, and to have an office party. So the opportunity cost, or the value or the cost that they could have if they chose that, the other option is, for example, the new fax, delivery van, or paid the boss or manager. So same with the government. The government choose unemployment benefits and to purchase weapons from other countries. So the opportunity cost that they give up are building new roads, or having a more hospital beds for the public hospitals. And then another choice is for individuals. So example, as an individual, example here, they choose Mars bar, T-shirt, beach to have beach holiday. So they give up the Twix bar, the DVD or CDs, or fixing the roof. So that's the opportunity cost. Okay. So as another simple example of opportunity cost is, instead of saving the money for new car, you spend more your money to 10 new cell phones, for example, like that. Okay, so next is the economic resources. So economic resources is also known as factors of production. So they are resources people use to produce goods and services. So the economists divide the factors of production into four. The four categories: the land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship. So these are the economic resources that are present. Okay, so in economics, it explained here, simple explanation, economics is how society manages its scarce or limited resources efficiently. So economics has two parts, the microeconomics and macroeconomics. So you can differentiate between the two, the micro and macro, from the word micro, small. Macro means large. So here, microeconomics focuses on individual parts of the economy. So it involves how households and firms make decisions and how they interact in a specific market. Okay. So first is, okay, in macroeconomics, so here, so take note, household and firms are those who make decisions. And then in macroeconomics, from the word macro, it looks at the end. It looks at the economy as entire or whole. So economy-wide phenomena includes inflation, it speaks about inflation, unemployment, economic growth. So these are the coverage in your macroeconomics. It's not only the household or the firms or business, but the totality in macroeconomics. It speaks about the inflation, again, inflation, unemployment, and the economic growth of a country. So here, we will start in the large portion of the economics, which is the macroeconomics. So macroeconomics look at the economy as a whole, and it focuses on a broad issues. Again, I mentioned it, growth of the economy or production, the number of unemployed people. That's why it affects the performance of the country if the unemployment rate is increasing. Then the inflationary increase in prices. So inflation. And the government deficits, wherein the government surplus is the government income or revenue is lower to the government expenditure, so, or expenses. And it involves the level of exports and imports. So in terms of export, it is good for the country that has a high income in terms of exports. So it's better that the country producing or has a high production in exporting goods and services to other countries than the country that do an importation. Okay. So in macroeconomics, it involves two types: the monetary policy and the fiscal policy. So monetary policy refers to the policy that involves altering the level of interest rate, the availability of credit in the economy, and the extent of borrowing. So the agency here in the Philippines that involves in the monetary policy is the Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas or the BSP. Okay? In the fiscal policy is the economic policies that involve government spending and taxes. So in terms of taxes, so we have the BIR or Bureau of Internal Revenue. Okay. Next we have the microeconomics, which microeconomics focuses on the actions of individual agents. So what are the agents? The three agents that we have: the household, workers, and business. Household, workers or employees, and the businesses or the firms or the companies. Okay. So here, this is simple explanation of the circular flow model in the microeconomics. So it involves two agents, the businesses and the household. Okay, so how we explain this? Okay, so we have the different, we'll start in the, I think, green arrow or blue. Okay, I will start in the blue arrow. Okay, so here, household. The household sale factors of production, such as labor, land, capital, and entrepreneurship or entrepreneurial ability. So labor, providing service. Okay, land, capital or the fund, and entrepreneur ability to the businesses through factor they will undergo to the factor market. So we're in the household sale and the firms buy. So the firms will buy the land, labor, the factors of production such as land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship to the household. And in return, in the green arrow, the business will buy the factors of production. So the business will provide cost or expenses. So they will incur expenses or cost to the factor market. In return, the household will receive money or income. Okay. And then, so since the business incur expenses or costs because of their business or their operation, the business will provide goods and services to the household through the product market. So the household will purchase goods and services to the market. And the household, since they will purchase, they have a consumption expenditures. So they will spend, they will buy. And then, in return, since the household purchased goods and services to the business will gain income or revenue. So, and then if the business will gain income or revenue, in return, they can provide again payments or provide payments to the household or to their workers or to their employees. They will provide salaries and wages. So this is the flow of circular flow in microeconomics. Okay, so it involves businesses and household and workers. So, what is the difference between microeconomics and macroeconomics? So here, in microeconomics, it speaks about it involves the individual decision, the household, and the firms. Economic decisions of individual, household, and firm. Okay, while in macroeconomics, it involves the national income of the government and the national or the nation as a whole. Okay, so if you see, this is the coverage of microeconomics. But when we will include the macroeconomics, so here, from the income of the businesses and the income of household from their labor or their land, so the income that they will gain from their rental of their land and also their entrepreneur ability. So how the government receive an income through collection of taxes from businesses and households. Okay. Okay, so this is also another explanation of, of microeconomics and macroeconomics. Okay, so here, this is the involvement, individual, household, production, firm. And for the macroeconomics, so it is a combination of the three agents as a whole in a country. So wherein in a macroeconomics there is a economic measures which is the GDP, which involves the GDP and the GNP. Okay, so there are basic economic problems in our society that are present across all countries. And that problem is a problem of scarcity. So this problem of scarcity arises because of the resources of all types are limited. So we have limited resources and the population have unlimited needs and wants. So the problem is scarcity. So if the resources is unlimited, so there will be no problem in the economic, or the economic problem would probably not arise. So there are four basic problems of the economy. Through the three, but there are other authors mention four basic problems of the economy. So the first three economic question here, but then some authors have four economic questions that considered to be the four basic problems of an economy. First is what to produce. So the question is what to produce. In order, what does a society do when the resources are limited? So what goods or services that we need to produce? So it also determines the quantity or the numbers of items or resources are required in this. So example here, should we produce more guns? Or should we need to produce more butter? Or what do we need to high capital? Or we need to invest in machines, equipment? How many machines or equipment we need to produce? So that's the question. What to produce? Then the second question that arise in the problems of our economy is how to produce. So how to produce? It means it speaks about the methods or the process. So all goods and services is necessary, especially in terms of the processes. But then the choice on how to produce is depends on the availability of different factors of production, which is again the land, labor, capital, and the entrepreneurship or entrepreneurial ability, and the prices. Okay, the next another question is for whom to produce. So it speaks about our target market. So if we are in the business side, the question is who are our target markets? For whom to produce? So we think about the society, or we think about the population that needs to satisfy. So, but then certainly we cannot satisfy individual or human wants. But then we have an option to decide on who gets what share of the total output of goods and services to produced. Okay, so we think in a small portion who is our target market, or we create our niche market in order to produce something. And then the number 4 basic question is what provision should be made for economic growth? What provision? So here 3 questions. So I will add, what provision should be made for economic growth? So can a society use all its resources for current consumption? Again, the question is, can a society use all its resources for current consumption? Yes. So yes, it can. And the simple reason is if the society uses all resources for current consumption, then its production capacity would never increase. Okay. So there are, so after the 3 or 4 economic questions, so it affects the what kind of economic system do we have. So economic system is an organized way in which a country allocates resources and distributes goods and services across the whole nation or a given geographic area. So how a certain country, again, allocates or distribute resources or its goods and services across the nation or in a given geographic area. So it is a combination of several institutions or entities or businesses, agencies, at the same time the decision-making processes, and the pattern of consumption that make up the economic structure of a specific community. So there are 3 economic system. We have the market economy, the planned economy, or the mixed economy. Centrally planned, mixed, or free enterprise. Okay, so I give here a simple explanation of the 3 business, or sorry, the 3 economic system. So here, the centrally planned economies, the mixed economies, and the free market economies. So here, it measures the amount of government involvement in economic decisions. So in central planned economies, there is more influence or involvement of the government in terms of decision making, complete government control. So there is the government is the one who control in the decision making, while in free market economies, from the word free, so no government control, or there is less percentage of government control in decision making. And we have the mixed economies, which is from the word mix. It is a combination of um, there's influence of the government, but it's just a ano lang, equal distribution of decision making between the government and the business entities or people. Okay. So here, why is it economics is important? So let's ask ourselves, why is it economics, or what is the importance of economics? So, or what is the meaning of the economy? So economy refers to a region or country's resources and wealth, especially as it pertains to producing and consuming goods and services. So here, there are different importance of economics because it helps people understand how variety of factors work with and against each other to control how resources such as labor and capital, the inflation, the supply, the demand, the interest, and other factors that affects the goods and services. So these are the different importance of economics. How to distribute resources, how to achieve social efficiency. And also, economics is important because it gives information in making choices. Also, economics give forecasts for the economy. So forecast are projections based on the performance of our or performance of a country, and how to fix market failure in case there are problems that will arise. And then understanding consumer behavior, since we are still looking back to the last previous topic, which is okay, unlimited needs and wants. Okay. So we understanding consumer behavior. So here we are creating satisfaction to our consumer. So in terms of measuring the economy, so in our macroeconomics, there is involvements in terms of measuring our economy, which includes the GDP and the GNP. So here, the GDP, or the gross domestic product, is considered as one of the best measure of economic performance because it is a good barometer of the economy's ups and downs. So if you have time after our discussion, please check in what percentage we are in terms of our GDP this year. So because it measure our economic performance or the performance of our country. So here, GDP involves expenditure method, income method, and production method. But mostly, we use this kind of formula under expenditure method. So under expenditure method, it involves consumption plus investment in business, consumption of the household plus the investment of the businesses, plus the government income, and plus the net export, which means export minus imports. And then another computation for GDP using the income method is equals to the wages plus the rental rate on capital plus the firm profit. So if in terms of the production method, it involves final value of all goods and services minus intermediate cost. So GDP is the country's total income. So it measured as the value of all the goods and services produced in the economy. Okay. But the most common method that used in computing for the GDP is using the expenditure method. Consumption plus investment plus government income plus the net exports. Okay. Then also GNP involves also. So GDP is different from GNP. So GDP speaks about the domestic aspect or coverage, while the GNP is from the word gross national product. National. Okay, so in gross national product or GNP is one of the important economic indicators because it produces crucial information on manufacturing, savings, investment, employment, production outputs of major companies, and other economic variables. So here we will compare the gross national product or the GNP to the GDP or the gross domestic product. So here, from location to nationality, location. Under GDP, all income generated within, so take note for GDP, within a country, regardless of producer nationality. So all productions within the country is count under gross domestic product. And it excludes income from investment in other countries. So take note, excludes investment in other countries. So all the productions or income within the country. So it speaks about the gross domestic product. So while in the GNP or gross national product, it speaks about the nationality. All income generated by a country's residents regardless of resident location. So if the business have if a company has a business here and they also have business in other countries, so it includes in the GNP. So all income generated by the country's residents regardless of residence location. So it excludes income generated by foreign producers within the country border. So if there are foreign businesses, example, if a business have a if a company has a business in other country, but then they are resident in that country, in this country, so it counts in the GNP. So example, the income of the OFW, so it is count under the gross national product. So even they are working abroad, since they have remittances to the Philippines, so it counts in the gross national product of our country.
Ma'am, may
Yes,
question po ako.
apa.
What if ma'am, taga-ibang country siya, then meron lang siyang branch dito sa country natin. It includes pa po ba sa sa GNP?
Okay. So here we have the again the division of different definition of GDP, GNP, and the gross national income. So here, so value of national output produced in a country. So national income, national output, national expenditure. While in the GNP, it includes the GDP plus the net property income from abroad. Okay, so I just included the gross national income. So in GDP, it includes the income of foreign multinational. So if atong question kanina, income of foreign multinational as long within the country, it is registered within the country. So it counts under the GDP. And then for GNP, excludes income earned by multinational when the profit sent back to other country. Okay. So that's the end of our discussion for our week 1 topic.